And welcome back to Football Game Plan Small College Game Day, powered by Next Level Sports. Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. And I'm joined now with my guys from inside D3 Football Huddle, talking about James Baker and Frank Rossi. Guys, how you doing this afternoon?
Doing great. It's good to see you again, Emory. It's been a while.
It's been a while, man, but when we get together, we talk football, we talk shopping. It's always a great thing because I really love what you guys do for the Division III game, and you guys do great work, both on camera, written. If you guys are not following these guys at Inside the Division III Football Huddle, go and smash that subscribe button and follow these guys on social media. And we know we're coming off of a weird year in 2020, dealing with COVID-19. So, James, I'll start with you. How does COVID-19 and the pandemic, how did it affect Division III football as a whole?
Well, the first thing it did was basically cancel roughly 1,200 games in the 2020 season. And it also caused some colleges, longtime football greats like Wesley out of Delaware and some other schools across the country to basically fold up. And so we're seeing some contraction in conferences. And, even though we were able to get about half the division of about now 239 teams to get some games in, we're already seeing, here we are week 1 of 2021. We waited almost 2 years for, and we've already got our first game cancellation. So hopefully we won't see too much more of that. But I think it's taught a lot of colleges and universities some of the challenges they have of staying open. The revenue stream football is obviously, 100 guys or more. That's a lot of paying customers at this level. So I think it has reminded people the importance of football. And Frank and I have been real proponents of letting these guys play. And we're just happy that, pretty much tomorrow night, we're going to have some games starting pretty soon.
Absolutely. JB, spot on across the board. One other thing I would say that it may have done is actually created an interesting balance of power issue. You don't obviously want to jump from COVID to, hey, it's leveled the playing field type of ideas, but there is a reality, I think, in it. We saw it in the D3Football.com top 25 poll where they had 5 different teams get first place votes, which is, I think, a first in the years that it's been around. Even our top 25 that we put together this preseason, it was extremely tough. Once you got beyond the top 5, and the ordering of the top 5 is something you could debate just as much as anything, but the teams were all there. But once you get below that, things are a jumble right now because who's a senior? Who's a junior? Do your freshmen and sophomores have any experience at this point? I really think that we're going to see some odd results the first 3 weeks of the season until things settle down and we know who's who and what's what across all these different teams across the country.
Ian, I'm glad you brought that up, Frank, because that leads into the next question. When you think about D3 football, you ask anyone, they'll say Mount Union, they'll say Wisconsin Whitewater. Now you look at Mary Hardin Baylor, but I feel like this is going to be the most competitive season at the Division III level that we have seen in quite some time. So I want to ask, what or who do you think are some of these sleeper teams that people need to start to get familiar with as we kick off the season?
Well, I would call it a returning national champ or defending national champ. If you look at the Stag Bowl as the national championship, and we awarded a team named Mount Union, as you named in the spring, our national champ. But the Stag Bowl defenders are North Central. And let's think about what we really thought about North Central in 2019 and before they won that Stag Bowl. Nobody would have thought that was coming with the balance of power that existed. So they really aren't sleepers, but you have to look at the winner of North Central versus Wheaton, the only team that did beat them in 2019. You have to. There's just no way around it. But teams like Salisbury, who always seem to be knocking on the door, and now without Wesley sort of standing in their way, they might be a team that can get some traction with that modified triple option offense that they run down there. There are a lot of teams on the periphery, I think, here of being able to be in the conversation. But I also think there's a gap here. So North Central bridged the gap in 2019. Wheaton technically bridged the gap with them in 2019 by beating them, the ultimate national champs, North Central. But, underneath it, I think there's going to be a lot of infighting going on for teams to get noticed out there. I don't know if we're going to be able to have many sleepers per se.
Yeah, but the one thing that's going to be really cool about this season, Emory, and I don't know if it was by design or it was because COVID kind of wrecked everybody's schedules, but even in the first couple of weeks of this new D3 season, we're going to get to see some great games right out the bat. Frank's going to Pennsylvania to see Mountain Union take on Westminster. The Pac champs from the spring season, they've really brought their program up a lot. Washington and Jefferson barely lost to Westminster in that title game, and they're having a big first weekend kickoff against John Carroll. You're going to get to see Whitewater travel to Maryland, speaking of Salisbury, to play the Seagulls in week 2, which is typically you wouldn't really see that until like a Final Four or maybe an Elite Eight kind of NCAA tournament type of situation. So I don't know exactly what happened, but we as fans are going to get some really amazing national quality games. Aurora versus St. John's, I think, is also another week 1 game. That's a team that's always been up there in the national title consideration. Now that St. Thomas has been booted to the Pioneer League and FCS, that kind of opens things up out in Minnesota, which has historically been a very strong area for the D3 football world. So I think we're in for a really exciting fall.
And I always love D3 football because I feel as though it's the purest form of college football that we get out there. So, James, if you look at, a high school student athlete watching this show, debating whether or not he should go to this school or that school, why should a student athlete choose Division III?
Well, I think I could go ramble on this for a long time, but when it kind of boils down to what makes the D3 experience that's special is that there really is, like you said, it's sort of the purest form of the game. It's, people are playing because they love it. They're not, getting full rides to some big universities, but they are getting probably a quality education that you're really not going to get at most colleges and universities in the country. I mean, it's obviously, a high school student can go to a USC or a Michigan or a UCLA and get an outstanding education, but really, maybe less than 1 or 2% of high school athletes in the country can play at that type of level. If you're not in that sort of super duper Power 5 thing, a D3 school offers an education that's just as good, if not better, than a lot of these national universities. If you look at all the college rankings, the best national liberal arts or other colleges, all of those schools are pretty much in the D3 realm, and their facilities, everything is as top notch as a D1. And there's some D1 caliber guys that do play D3 football. I mean, Ali Marpet of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a perfect example of that. We've seen some other players, crack into the league here and there over the years. So it's not like there isn't, talent at the D3 level. Quinn Maynards, for example, from Whitewater is now on the Broncos. So, you can get NFL kind of caliber players, but at the same time, if you're not going to be one of these very, very select, almost lottery winner type people to play at the next professional level, you can come away with an amazing education. And the price tags that seem pretty big when you really delve into it, and the scholarships and the institutional grants and all that can make a D3 education pretty affordable when it all boils down to it.
And Emory, I'm going to go full circle here for you with your first question about COVID. COVID, I think, helps show us something about Division III football that I don't think any of us really fully embraced, or maybe we took it for granted. I look at the number of players across the country that are coming back for a 5th year without really the necessity of having to do so, because they could have honestly graduated and been done with this over the last year as seniors. And yet so many of them are coming back for the purpose of football, not for the purpose necessarily just graduate school. Maybe that factor in a little bit, but they're coming back for football. For what reason, though? Because this isn't going to take you anywhere. Maybe 3 players a year get serious looks from the NFL when you're talking about Division III. And I mean serious looks, like combine talk and stuff like that. And then maybe even less than that get talked about in the actual draft scenario. So they're coming back to play a game that they love, for a brotherhood that they love, and just to grow and keep that alive. So for high school students that think, look, I may not be good enough to be in that caliber of the upper echelon Division three, or it's something above it in terms of division. Understand that that brotherhood that you love in high school is very much alive and well, and the recognition you get, the resume boost you get from it, and everything else, it is beyond what I can put into words, the effects of Division three football for a lot of these guys. And that's why we embrace it, just to give them a little bit extra attention out there. And our shows, In the Huddle has been around for 13 years, our 14th season right now. So it's one of those situations where we must be doing something okay, and getting the right message across about our Division three football athletes.
You guys are doing more than okay. You guys are doing great. So make sure you guys follow these guys on social media. You look at Inside the Division three Huddle, smash that subscribe button. JB and Frank, I appreciate you guys stopping in and joining us here on the show.